Hey you guys, I'm here with Master Yap Bo Heong. We're filming out of Turin in Italy, and yeah, we're just going to go through some questions which I've carefully prepared.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, first things first, would you like to talk a little bit about, why we're here, what we've been doing, and, what we achieved?
Okay, yeah. Well, we just spent an enjoyable 5 days of intensive instructors training, right? We had about 8 guys here, right? 9 maybe. Most of them were Italians, plus we had the odd persons.
Stranger.
Yeah, from the UK, from France, from Belgium, and me from the other side of the world. But yeah, it's been a really interesting one because this is the first time I've conducted an intensive instructors training here in Europe. I've been doing this for the past 2 years in Asia, but in Asia we had a more informal format, where things were more loose and we didn't have a very strict syllabus. But from there, we sort of developed the syllabus for this one, so which was more structured. I think a lot more methodical, right? And a lot of content went into it, and it was much richer than what I've done in the past 2 years. I think the guys here that attended it not only benefited greatly from it, right? But I think everyone enjoyed it. And as the teacher myself, I thoroughly also enjoyed this course. I found it one of the most enjoyable ones that I did. Partly, I think one of the main reasons of that is because I can teach at a higher level. Because most of the guys here already got many years, quite a few years of martial arts or Qigong under their belt. And being able to communicate and pass on knowledge at a higher level was for me very satisfactory. Whereas in the past, most of the teachings I've done is at a very, more at a basic level. Yeah, generally, I would say all. Of course, we've got some other high-level instructors as well, but generally, as a class or a seminar, most of it was at quite a beginners or intermediate beginners level. Whereas with this instructor's course, I really enjoyed it because it was at a higher level, and most of the students, in fact all the students, were at a pretty uniform, they were not like vast differences in levels between the students. So the content that was delivered, the communication can be done much more clearly and a lot more efficiently. And we had a lot of hands-on, and we really enjoyed it. There were a lot of laughs as well. But I guess, yeah, it's really great. And I certainly hope to be able to to organize more of these instructors training. And from now on, because I've been, doing a lot of workshops in Europe, we've been teaching Shou Gong, spreading the name and, building up the base. And now we are in a position to bring this up to another level, where we can bring up more instructors, and not only just have instructors, but to upgrade the skills and the levels of the instructors as well as the participants. So I see myself doing more of this high-level training and leaving the lower level training for beginners and so on, or introduction to Yan Shou Gong, to the existing batch of instructors. So that's roughly how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, given that you're talking about how we're going to have sort of more structure now and all that kind of that kind of thing. How does it differ from when you learned from, for example, your father, Grandmaster Yap Shanghai? Could you go through some of the some of the differences?
Okay. Put it this way, I think I grew up, and I was fortunate in a way, right? I grew up in an environment that allowed me to learn martial arts and Qigong. at a very early level, or rather the internal martial arts. You know, I started at 11 simply because I guess my father was a grandmaster, and he knows is a student and disciple of Grandmaster Chi, which well, I would call him great grandmaster, and he is such a high level of a teacher, you know, and I haven't seen anyone greater, you know. And but having said that, I learned the classical way, and which was the hard way. Basically, what I mean by classical way is you do this 10,000 times and you will get it. Don't ask too many questions. And that was the classical way. And you have to be really diligent, very disciplined, right? Because if you do something wrong 10,000 times, it's still wrong, you know? Doing it 10,000 times doesn't make it right, you see? And in many cases, not always, but in many cases, the teachers or my instructors, which was not necessarily only my father, but the other senior instructors, my seniors at that time, may or may not tell you or correct you in a particular way. Yeah? So you literally have to do it so many times that you get it, you know. So so just to give an example, I dare say it took me almost 20, 30 years before I really began to understand, you know, what is internals, and that I could do it, I could manifest it. Really. Maybe before that I could manifest it because after doing it so many times, it's wired into your brain and your body, and you just do it. But you could never figure out how you do it.
Yeah.
But now I dare say I understand my own body, you know, my own mechanisms, my fascia, and the other tissue much better, and I'm able to sort of break it down and, you know, into processes and steps that make the teaching so much more efficient. So I think so I've been in a way, you know, hacking myself, right? Since I could do this, I've been asking myself, okay, how do I actually do it? Where does this energy come from? You know, what activity or what action do you do within your body? What do you move or not move? What do you visualize, or, you know, and so on, you see. So I went through that process, and also coupled with some of the old theories that was, you know, Shaolin theories that was explained to me by my teachers, which in those days, in my time when so learning, did not make sense at all, because they were just some sayings, you know. Very simple one that Grandmaster Chi would always repeat: do not use strength. Okay. What do you mean by do not use strength? How do you not use strength when that guy is pushing you, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, and it took me many years before I realized, when you're song, and also the big common common word, right? Be song, do not use strength. Huh? So until I realized what is song and what do you mean by do not use strength today. So now I think I'm in a much better position to actually describe and teach a student how to be song, and through the song, you know, which means looseness and softness, be able to derive the internal energy that will replace raw physical strength. Yeah. So I think, and that methodology is something I call the roadmap for learning internals. And this came about during the period of the COVID, where I couldn't travel or teach, right? And I had a lot of time to contemplate, right? And introspect. And I formulated the theories for that. So that is bundled in a set of, you know, guidelines and policies. You can call it a framework that I call the roadmap of learning internals. And those who have listened to my other talks would know that. And since after the COVID, we have structured our teaching program, and it will be even more so starting from 2026 onwards. That all the future courses and programs will be based on the roadmap. And having said that, the main purpose of coming out with the roadmap was simply this, you see. How can we learn the internal arts much faster, right? Because it's been known that the internal arts are very difficult to learn, and it takes years for someone to achieve results, you see. And to me, that is a big, big hindrance, right, to learning internals and the adoption of internals. And that will become such a big obstacle that if it's not overcome, it will mean the extinction of the internal arts. And I have personally seen it happening in Asia and talking to other old masters, you know, in Asia, and this I mean not only Malaysia, Singapore, but also China, that there are fewer young people adopting, right, or learning the internal arts, and they're going for things that give so-called faster results, MMA, Muay Thai, and so on, you see. And the reason is, I think, comes down to two things, you know. One is a matter of fashion trends, right? Wow, you know, MA, BJJ, oh, these are the hot new martial arts. Of course, they don't know anything about the traditional arts, right? And also they think the traditional arts, these are my grandfather's art. You know, it's not fashionable, it's not cool, you know. You tell somebody I'm doing BJJ, say, hey, that's cool, man, that's what they do in the ring, right? You say, I'm learning some Heong. What's that? Oh, my grandfather used to do that, you know. Nah, not cool. Right? And the other hindrance is, they think, nah, if I'm going to learn some internal martial arts, it'll take me 10 years before I can do anything. Now, if I go and join a Muay Thai gym, I can probably fight in the ring in 3 months, you know. So that's the thing, you see. So if no young people want to take up the internal arts within, you know, another generation, it'll be gone, you see. So my incentive is to find ways that can make the learning process faster, you know, quicker. And I have a saying, you say, there's nothing wrong with the internal arts, because some people criticize it, it doesn't work in the ring. Yeah, it's never been designed to work in the ring. It's designed to work on the streets and in the battlefield, right? So anyway, so to say that the internal arts is, I mean, people criticize it for being no good, and to me, having been through and touched hands with many people from many different martial arts, I can definitely, say that there's nothing wrong with the internal arts when it comes to the martial aspect of it, you know. The only thing wrong is it takes too long to learn. And that's what I'm trying to fix, really. That I want to shorten the learning time. And since I've been using, you know, the roadmap has been refined since I started teaching in 2010. I've produced students that, you know, within 3 years have mastered the skills that would normally take 10 years. You see? So we have been able to shorten that learning time by a factor of 2/3, you know, 70%. Right. So, and I think we can do it even shorter, you know. And I think that's my aim and my goal with the martial arts that I'm doing and teaching. And this applies to the Qigong as well, you know, to be able to feel the energy instead of taking 10 years, right? We've been able to do it in a weekend workshop. And we've been teaching these healing camps where people can begin to feel energy in their hands and apply it in healing, and it can be done in a weekend workshop, right? And that's, from experience. It's empirical, you know, and it's being done.
We're making internals cool then.
Yep. When you can do weird things to people, you know, and they go,
It is cool.
From your own experience,
I think it's
right?
Cool. No, for sure. Okay, so mainly we're talking about Shou Gong, but of course there's also Five Ancestors and Wu Mei as well. Could you talk a little bit about some of the differences and maybe comment on things you like about each different one?
Okay. Right now, most of my teaching is focused on Shou Gong because I believe it is very foundational, right? It helps build skills and knowledge that will allow you to go on to the other martial arts. So even people who come to me and say, hey, I want to learn five ancestors, I'll explain more about that and Wu Mei later on. That is, they want to learn these other arts from me, I'll say, you start with Yan Shou Gong first. So basically what Yan Shou Gong is you can say it was derived from a very high level internal arts that was taught in Shaolin, right? And that has been distilled down to very precise processes and methods that give very fast results. And this was done by two great grandmasters, Grandmaster Chi Kim Tong and my father, Grandmaster Yap Ching Hai. And between them, they have about 120 years of experience behind them when they created Yan Shou Gong. So they took this knowledge that they had of the deeper Shaolin internal arts and they condensed it to make Yan Shou Gong. And it was designed with three objectives in mind. Quick to learn, because the forms are very short, I can teach someone a form within 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Quick to practice, this is important because if the form only takes you 5 minutes to practice, you can do it before you brush your teeth in the morning, right? Instead of saying, no, it's gonna take me half an hour or 45 minutes, I'll never find time to do this. You know, that's the usual excuse. And the third one is very important, is it gives you quick results, you know, just by doing a Yan Shou Gong. You spend 3 minutes to 5 minutes in the morning, you're all energized and ready to face the day, you know, and go and do battle in your boardroom or whatever, right? And I think the most important benefit of learning Qigong or any of these internal arts, right, from the health benefit point of view is it energizes you. It gives you the energy to survive through the day. And to me, that's the most important thing. Forget about whether I can feel qi in my belly and nantian or whatever, right? You know, let's put it this way. Most people I've talked to, right, those who find the benefits on the Yan Shou Gong say, before I did Yan Shou Gong, by the end of the day, right, after I've gone home from a hard day's work and had dinner, that's it. You know, I'm out of energy, my batteries are down, I can't spend time doing anything, you know, let alone spend time with your family, do the things that you like, you know. You just slump in front of the TV, right? You're zombied. But with Yan Shou Gong, you have that energy to continue on, you see. You know, and to me, that's the most valuable thing. And I've spoken to some of the students say, I do Yan Shou Gong every morning because why? It makes me want to go out there and, you know, do my job and enjoy the day. So with Yan Shou Gong, I actually enjoy my day instead of dreading my day.
Just getting through it.
I think that is probably what makes, you know, the most important difference, you see. It's not whether you have qi in your whatever.
As nice as it
and
is.
part of you, and it taught me that you once, So anyway, that's that. So okay, so we teach Yan Shou Gong more as a Qigong, right? As a art that, you know, allows you to create that sort of internal energy. And for, as we say, Yan Shou Gong literally means the art of longevity. It allows you to have good health. And health to me is holistic, you know. For example, a good example, I think it's a statement that actually I read from WHO, the World Health Organization, and it says that being healthy doesn't mean you're free from diseases. You know, it means that you are able to live life to the fullest potential, right? So you may be free from diseases if you're confined to a wheelchair. That's not living life to full potential, or you know, I can't eat certain foods and all that because of some, you know, illness, right? That's not having a good life. So I think the ability to live life to full potential is what Yan Shou Gong gives you, and the Qigong will give you, see. So we teach that, the Yan Shou Gong more for that purpose. And then there is the five ancestors. So five ancestors is actually a martial art, an internal martial art, and it consists is the amalgamation, right? The assimilation of five different arts. What the first one being Tai Chu, grand ancestor, is a very hard and powerful style of kung fu. The next one is also Lo Han, which is a very internal style of kung fu. Lo Han means arahat, and you can think of an arahat as an enlightened being, or to visualize it, you visualize this. If you go to a Buddhist or Taoist temple, you see these statues of the gods, and yeah, you can see figures. Yeah, they're the temple gods. So in the Buddhist pantheon, they call it the Dharma protectors, right? Yeah, these are enlightened beings who sort of teach the Dharma as well as protect the Buddha when he travels. So that's known as Arhat or Lohan in Chinese. Then you have White Crane, which is White Crane Kung Fu, right? Derived from the actions of the White Crane. And also you have Monkey Kung Fu. So that's number 4. And the last one is what we call it in Chinese, Tat Mo. Tat Mo is the Chinese name for Bodhidharma, the monk who brought, well, he was not the first monk, but a prominent monk, Indian monk, who brought Buddhism to China, and who reputedly also founded Shaolin Temple. So Tat Mo doesn't, by itself, doesn't have any forms of Kung Fu because Tat Mo was never a martial artist. But what he did was he created a system for internal development, the Qigong. And for those of you who do internal arts, that you've probably heard of these 2 treatises, theories, and the changing of tendons, the I Ching Ching, and the washing of bone marrow called Si Sui Si, right? And both of these are actually developed by Tat Mo, and a lot of internal arts refer to these 2 documents. So these are the 5 arts that found 5 ancestors, right? It's a very efficient martial art fighting system, if you call it, but it's also an internal fighting, internal art, right? Which means that if you practice it, it's not both as a martial art, but also can develop your internals, internal energies. Then we have Wu Mei, which is a very rare, Shaolin martial art attributed to a woman, and she's also by legend attributed to be the teacher or the founder of Wing Chun. So in that sense, in our parlance, we call her Wing Chun's granny. Right? Because if in Wing Chun, the mother, the person, the lady who founded Wing Chun is the mother of Wing Chun, then Wu Mei was the granny of Wing Chun in that sense. But yeah, so, and again, it's very efficient because it's by a lady, right? So it's an art that is not dependent on physical strength, but it's certainly dependent on internal power, right? And it's again a very effective fighting art. I don't have the time to go into the history and story of Wu Mei, but I think you can probably hear it in one of the other interviews that I did. But literally, Wu Mei was a assassin's art. You can think of it that way, right? So it's quick and efficient. So yeah, those are the few arts that I have learned and I teach.
Are there any sort of particular memories or stories or whatever that you remember of Grandmaster Chi that you'd like to share?
Okay, in terms of stories, I think there were a few, but Grandmaster Chi was not a very vocal person. Most of the time he was just silent. Typical old masters. You see some of the movies, he'll go, not right. He will speak in very monosyllabic terms.
Not very conversational.
And yeah, unless you get him warmed up, right? Normally, after, during teaching, he's normally very formal, and but it is like if you study Chinese martial arts, you know the custom, right? Normally after class, you know, the senior students and the master will get together, have tea, and maybe a snack. And those are the times, right, where stories get told and knowledge gets revealed, secrets get revealed, you see. So it pays to hang around, you know, in those days, right? Yeah. So as a young teenager, right, and because the classes were actually held in my father's house, I had many opportunities to hang around and hear some of those stories. But yeah, so but normally I think he was very reluctant to talk about much stories because he had a, I would say, very bitter experience in the war, right? Because he lived through the period where China was occupied by the Japanese, and they were having battles, you know, with the Japanese, between the Chinese, so-called, the various factions of the Chinese army and the Japanese, you see, and many of his compatriots and friends were killed with it. So I think he didn't want to talk much about that. But there were a few stories. I think I can't recall them now, but I think it'd be a bit long to explain. But I'm more than happy to share them another time, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, he was that. As a man, yeah, he was very quiet, he was very humble. Despite being such a great master, if you met him on the streets, you never think so, you know. He didn't have the airs, he didn't wear the fancy clothes, you know, or anything. He was, and well, the thing that struck me was that he would even go to the market and do shopping by himself, you know, in the morning, because he loves to cook. Right, so he buy vegetables and fish and whatever, and then he'll cook breakfast for us. Actually, you know, as we go training on that, normally on the weekends we have a disciples training. Also, as my father was a disciple, I was privileged enough to tag along, and he will cook porridge. You know, a congee, rice porridge with all the side dishes and all that for us to eat. You know? So so he was that kind of person. And beside that, he was also a very good healer. Very good in bone setting, and he had a very strong reputation for that. People will come for miles, you know, to see him. But the things that I remember most about him is he had this short but very cryptic sayings, you see. Among them was say, "You must be song, you must not use strength," you know, things like that. The other one I remember very well is, "You must put your E at your fingertips." But of course, he never explained how to do it. But he will show it to us. And you just, okay, attack me. He'll move you one finger. He said, "That's how you do it. You must have your E in your fingertip." So then all of us would look at each other and sort of, how do you do that?
It's esoteric.
Very esoteric in that sense, you know.
And quite different now, because of course we're doing all the testing and
because we now adopt a more methodical, very methodical pedagogy, and partly because although I grew up in a very classical environment, because my dad, right, was involved in all this, and he was classically educated, he sent me to modern Western education, right? I was educated overseas. I did my university in England, right? And I ended up with a maths degree. Go figure, right? But that's maybe shocking. Maybe that explains why I need to be so logical and analytical, and that helped me to formulate the teaching method that I use nowadays. You see, You know, and I think he's produced some pretty good results.
And I mean, it just slightly changing the subject in terms of the health benefits. I mean, are there any sort of anecdotes you can think of which demonstrate some I don't know, some benefits people have found from learning in Shou Gong.
Yeah. Okay, one of them definitely is, I mean, okay, I'll relate back to my first experience. I think I may have told this in some of the earlier stories, but I had just started teaching in Shou Gong for about a year. I was in Singapore, and a friend, sister, right, had an operation and had part of her lung removed because of disease, right? And she was walking in the park to rehabilitate, and she had a machine, they call it an oxygen concentrator, which took oxygen out of the air and put it into a tube, right? Much like you do in the oxygen, whatever. So you carry that instead of a tank of oxygen, right? And this lady, she could barely walk 30 meters before having to sit down, because she was out of breath and tired. So this friend of mine said, hey, since you do Qigong, can you teach my sister something that would help with her health? So at that time, I haven't really encountered anything serious, where Yan Shou Gong could help. So I sort of thought about it and said, okay, there are a few moves from the first form, right, that could help, because this helped open up the lungs, the chest area, and move the rib cage and so on. So I thought, why don't you do this simple exercise? So I taught it to her, and she was quite diligent about doing it. And after 3 months, I was back in Singapore, so I asked, how's it with your sister? And so happened that I said, oh, she's getting so much better, because after 3 months, she could get rid of that oxygen machine, and she could walk, easily about 100 meters before she felt tired. That was such a drastic change, I think, in 3 months. And I was equally surprised, And also the other thing is, in Singapore, if you have a serious medical condition, they will suspend your driving license, because they're afraid, you might go unconscious at the wheel or something like that. So this lady, she couldn't drive, she couldn't do her shopping, she couldn't, bring her kids, fetch her kids, and so on. So as a housewife, she was greatly inconvenienced. So, but give it another 4 months or so, right, of practice, she passed a full medical and got back her driving license. So I thought that was incredible, from being barely able to walk, right, to within a period of 7 or 8 months, pass a full medical. I thought that was amazing. So that was my first experience, actually, of Yan Shou Gong being able to help someone with health conditions. And I can't remember which year it was, but I think it was sometime, I think before my father passed away. So 2012, 2013, right? So since then, I think I met and taught many more people with various conditions. I would say none were as serious as this lady. But they all had, I think quite, what should I say, resounding, results. People with knee conditions, spine conditions, lower back conditions, and so on. All of them have benefited from the Yan Shou Gong. And I think the other things is, like, I remember one case where I can't remember where, but a lady, she came to me and said, "Oh, I'm so happy about Yan Shou Gong." This was just after a 2-day workshop. They said, "Oh, what was your experience with Yan Shou Gong?" I said, "I now have warm hands." And I think to her, someone who's always had cold hands, the ability to have warm hands, I think, is a wonderful experience, right?
Yes.
And which meant that she had to improve the blood circulation to the hands, right? And thereby you get the warmness in the hands.
There's some people that come to mind for me as well.
Or cold feet, right? They're always cold, with hands and feet, and they always bundle up. But now, they're okay.
No, absolutely. I think in terms of our time, we're probably coming towards the end. So,
Okay.
yeah, is there anything, with regards to future plans for Shou Gong? Should we finish on that?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we're always adding programs to our schedule. The best place to check us out is our website, yanshaogong.org. That's spelled YANSHOU Gong GONG.org. And if you scroll down the page, I mean that's the usual, mumbo jumbo introduction, right? Which I think probably needs to be, refreshed. But further down, that's where the action happens.
Yeah.
Is where all our courses are, and you can actually check them out. And we have them in various countries. Yeah, and now I think we are quite well spread. We are in a lot of countries in Europe. We are active in Asia as well, Southeast Asia especially, and we have even touched foot on North America.
Nice.
Okay, so
Nice.
yeah, so I think we are slowly expanding, and you check out the courses and schedules there. I think you'll find a course or seminar or workshop that's somewhere near you, and also there are listed all the instructors in the various countries and so on, and you can probably contact one of them. Yeah. But please do, check out our website, and if you need to inquire or ask about anything, if you scroll down to the bottom of a page, there's a general inquiry form, and we do our best to answer the emails there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time, and
Thanks.
thanks so much for watching.